You're saying we're prioritising the rights of British people and not the rights of an asylum-claiming prime-age man who is gay. They would go back to Iran or Afghanistan.
We need to stand up for them. We need to stand up for them.
To British women.
Potential terrorist attack foiled by our security services. 4 men from Iran who turned up on a boat. Our priority.
This is exactly why people have stopped trusting the mainstream liberal establishment to keep anyone safe. They're far more interested in looking morally superior by defending every minoritized group than actually protecting British citizens from real danger and real oppression. This exchange between Susanna Reid, Ed Bow, and Zia Yusuf shows it perfectly, and he tears their narrative apart piece by piece. Let's get into it.
Because, you know, I was asked recently, I appreciate you didn't use this phrase, why would you send people back to, quote, woman-hating Afghanistan? Why are so many men from, quote, woman-hating Afghanistan being allowed to turn up on our beaches uninvited?
My question was about the women.
Well, our priority, and we make no apologies for this, is British people, British girls and British women.
Do you think
we need to stand up for them. We need to stand up for them.
To British women?
Well, again, the reason we are so focused on ensuring that this gets done is because the vast majority of the people illegally in this country from Afghanistan, I've seen these numbers, are men. In fact,
so are you only going to target the men and not target the women?
Well, deportation command would be foolish, Susanna, for deportation command to start when we've got probably north of 1 million illegal migrants in this country, at least, to start focusing on women and girls. The best estimates, but the total population of women and girls from Afghanistan in this country at sub 2,000. We're talking about 0.2% of the total population. We will start with the men. We will start with the fighting age men. They are the ones, by the way, who people watching this programme are most worried about.
Maybe she should take a moment to read what happened to Emily Jones, the 7-year-old girl who was unalived by, yes, a female asylum seeker who arrived in the UK on the back of a lorry. We'll get into this properly at the end because it's genuinely horrifying. And if you want to see just how deeply ideology blinds these people, watch how Ed Balls clashes with Zia Yusuf, desperately positioning himself as the heroic defender of gay people.
You've allocated £2 billion to pay countries to take returns. You've said, Nigel Farage said last week, that that would include countries like Afghanistan, Iran. You've said it wouldn't be women and children. If you are a gay man who's come to Britain to claim asylum from Iran or Afghanistan, you know, of fighting age, a gay man, would you return a gay man to Iran?
Our priority will be the British people. I want to keep saying that. I want to say.
So the answer is you would return a gay. Because in Iran, being gay means is not only illegal, but it is punishable with flogging through to the death penalty. But you're saying you would return a gay man to Iran.
Why does it appear to be that we're okay with the vast majority of the people coming from Iran are fighting age men as well? In fact, some of them, very well-sourced stories suggest had a potential terrorist attack foiled by our security services. 4 men from Iran who turned up on a boat. Our priority, and Nigel's priority when he's Prime Minister, will be the British people.
I understand
we make
that, but
no
the nature of being in
that.
government is, because you referred to him as Prime Minister Nigel Farage, if you're in government, you have to be able to answer the difficult questions. That's what government ministers do. That's what you need to do as well. You would return a fighting-age gay man to Iran or Afghanistan. I think, you know, that is a perfectly legitimate thing to say, because you're saying we're prioritising the rights of British people and not the rights of an asylum-claiming prime-age man who is gay. They would go back to Iran or Afghanistan. I think the answer is the answer is yes.
Well, what I'm saying today is we make no apology for saying that this issue needs to be sorted out and we're going to prioritise British people.
But you would return gay men.
But let me also be clear about something. You're asking me about Afghanistan.
Well,
we came out and talked about Afghanistan, and the Home Secretary then came out the very next day and said they would consider doing a deal with Afghanistan. You look at Iraq.
Of course.
And by the way, Germany's already returning illegal migrants to Afghanistan, albeit via Qatar as an intermediary, and this Labour government has done a return agreement with Iraq. And I would put it to you, Ed, that gay people don't have a particularly nice time in Iraq either. Look, the world is unfortunately, as Nigel has already said, he cannot be held, if the British people see fit to vote him in as Prime Minister, he cannot be held accountable for the actions of every despotic regime. We will, of course, not deliberately send anyone back to get tortured or harmed in any way. But we make no apologies. We have north of 1 million people in this country illegally. That number is growing. The pace of people arriving is accelerating. We cannot afford it. It's totally unfair on the people.
Somebody really needs to hand Ed BS a map. because we're supposed to believe that a gay man from Iran would travel through multiple safe countries and then once he reaches France, which is already a safe country, suddenly has to enter the UK illegally if he's genuinely seeking protection. We're meant to pretend he couldn't use legal, safe routes or that Britain somehow has a duty to accept people from France who arrive illegally just because they tick an oppressed identity box. It's nonsense. It should be straightforward. And obviously, the British public don't want anyone tortured. What they do want is people seeking refuge to follow our laws and do it fairly. But let's be honest, we're not stupid. Everyone can see how many people exploit the system and prey on the compassion of liberals like Ed Balls and Susanna Reid. And this next story is genuinely chilling. You need to hear it. A 7-year-old girl, Emily Jones, was unalived by a woman who entered the UK on the back of a lorry in 2014. This woman randomly attacked her while Emily was passing by on an e-scooter in Bolton. No reason, no provocation, nothing. And it gets worse. She actually admitted twice to doctors that she lied on her asylum application. Lied twice, was still given asylum, wasn't deported, and years later she took that little girl's life. And yet liberals want to make stupid arguments like, oh, do you want to deport females? Their compassion stretches only in one direction because they're blinded, absolutely blinded by ideology and identity politics. Everything is reduced to some fantasy struggle between oppressed and oppressor. This is exactly why, as a black man, I despise identity politics and the fake compassion of the left. This idea that just because you belong to a minority group, whether you're black, gay, whatever, you automatically deserve special treatment, because tragedies like this prove the cost. And we all know full well, if this had been a little Asian girl or a little black girl randomly slashed by a white man or white woman, especially a cis, heterosexual white man, it would have been front page news everywhere. From the prime minister to your neighbor, everyone would have been shouting about it. But because it doesn't fit their narrative, it gets ignored. Not only ignored, people like Susanna Reid then argue that those from certain identity groups shouldn't have to follow the rules, shouldn't have to meet the same standards, shouldn't face consequences. Anything that tries to protect British citizens, enforce fairness, or uphold justice is painted as inhumane and evil. And this is exactly why they're losing the moral high ground, because they never had it. Their morality is nothing more than self-righteous performance. They care more about looking virtuous than actually facing the evidence and being virtuous.